Hi everyone, welcome to yet another edition of Let's Talk Design. We'll be going live shortly. We have a very special guest for you today. So just hang in there, grab a cup of coffee, and we'll start shortly. I'm just waiting for our guest to join in today, and we'll be going live. We'll be talking about marble trends and styles in interior design. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat box below. There's also a little icon for question marks, which is for questions. So feel free to use either of those to ask any questions that you may have. And thank you again for joining in. We have a very special guest who's a very popular interior designer from Mumbai, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. Just waiting for her to log in. I think we should be good to go in about a minute. I'm just going to send her a message and check. If you're interested in any specific marble, you can just drop us a DM and our sales team will get back to you. Should be going live soon. Hi everyone. Sorry, I think our guest is just taking a little bit longer. Yes, thank you. For any product inquiries, or if you want to get additional information on our products, you can just DM A-Class Marble. Yes, and our guest is right there. So hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
All well. You can hear me loud and
Yes,
clear?
I can. I can.
Great. So I'll quickly give you an introduction. Our guests have been waiting for you today. So we have with us on this series of Let's Talk Design, Shonali Mahajan from Studio Wodehouse. She's the founder of Studio Wodehouse, a Mumbai-based interior design studio that was founded in 2014 with a master's in interior design at the Domus Academy in Milan, Italy, and the guidance of industry stalwarts. Shonali has seamlessly brought together international standards of design with Indian craftsmanship while continuing to create a niche for herself. Shonali, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us on this series.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So I'll quickly start. I assume you know the format. We'll have about 5 to 6 questions. We might take a few questions from the audience if they have any. And that's it. We'll keep the conversation crisp and clear.
Perfect. Thank you.
So tell me, Shonali, firstly, what according to you are the current trending marble trends and styles that add to the overall look and feel of a space?
So I think marbles have come a long way in sort of being accepted in India and being applied in India. I think earlier it was kind of like this symbol of prestige and wealth. And a lot of it was that, especially in the last maybe 20 years or 25 years, it was always that Botticino and the beige marbles and the diners. Then it kind of, people started realizing that it's a very restrictive palette. So it moved on to the grays. And then, the flurries came in, Williams came in. So that's kind of brought in a different palette. And the whites are, of course, beautiful, but difficult to live with and also expensive. So I think what's kind of happened now is that people have learned to live with marbles, love it, and now have progressed to a level where they want the drama and they want the palacios and they want the the Carrara, the Arabesquetto Carraras. So I think those have come in because earlier people didn't know how to live with it and they were just kind of getting their feet wet. Now people love it and are bold and are okay to experiment. So I think now the trends have gone towards high contrast, very dramatic, very bold marble versus just the quieter ones. So I think, especially for us, for me personally, what I love is the bolder the better. So
Right.
yeah, I don't know. I wonder if you agree because I think that's what also gets supplied into the market as what we're seeing today.
Yeah, I think, like you said, there is obviously a demand for like really sort of, the drama. I think that's, you
Yeah.
got that spot on. I do see that as well. But then I also feel that there is a whole audience out there that wants the subtlety still and the elegance and the tone down. So I think
Yeah.
for both an equal demand, if not one versus the other. But yeah, I think the current trend is the drama. I think that's
Yeah.
absolutely fair. So
Yeah.
tell me, in all your projects, we have seen something new, like something dramatic, some style elements that uniquely stand out. How do you manage to add that innovation into sort of every new space you're designing? And also, then, if you could talk a little bit about what are the innovations that you've done with stone?
I think if we didn't innovate, we'd die. If I didn't, as a studio, enforce that every project should look different. As a studio, we've struggled with this quite a bit, and I'm sure other studios struggle with it quite a bit too. Is that should we represent one style? Should you be able to walk into a space and say, hey, that's a Studio Wodehouse, or hey, that's a so and so, right? Or should you walk in and say, wow, who did this? And be really surprised that the same studio did so many different things. But I think personally for me, it finally comes to the fact that inherently we can't keep doing the same thing again and again. It just doesn't happen. We're not at that scale that we can become a factory of design. We're not at that juncture, and we like what we do. We love what we do. We're passionate about what we do. So we want to play with new materials and try different things. And also, each client is so different. Each client is so varied with what they want, and they come to us for either they see like a certain thread that connects all the projects. So I think within that realm and within that sort of framework, when we are playing with marble, we try and work with different materials. We try and incorporate them in a different way. So, for example, in certain projects, we'd probably put something quiet everywhere. But then, just to give one kick or to give one sort of highlight, we'll use a dramatic marble. And if not on the walls, if it's too much, then we'll use it on a countertop or a tabletop. And if not there, then we'll use it as furniture, as side tables and coffee tables, because that in itself is a huge trend now. Marble, solid monolithic,
As furniture. Yeah.
as furniture.
Yeah.
So that's what we've been doing as well. We've been doing a lot of these monolithic sort of bar counters. I recently made a small side table. It was a prototype, but of a black and a white marble. So it was on a PU base, and again very monolithic structure. And then we try and work with a lot of what we've been doing is instead of creating basin counters where it's marble on the top and marble sink and wooden frame, we've been doing the whole thing in marble. And going really bold. So, we may have a fully white washroom, for example, and just the marble sink will be a red, like a Levante.
Right.
So I think it has a drama. When you learn how to kind of balance it, it works better. And it's very exciting, and that impact is just like, yeah.
Could you share some specifics on stones that you've used to add that drama or pop?
In one of our projects, we used a Caravaggio
Right.
on the wall, and behind a headboard. So there
Right.
was there were two Duco PU white lacquered shutters, and then a blue bed. And
Right.
basically, what we did was we took this Caravaggio, it became the centerpiece. We layered it with metal shelves, and picked
Yeah.
up the colors from the marble to dictate the furnishings for the space.
Right.
So since when you use these kind of marbles, there's so many different. It's like a watercolor painting. So there's so many tones that sets the sort of aesthetic direction and the palette for the room. And on a recent project, we've been working with Nero Antique, which is super dramatic Nero Antique. So we were weighing out Panda White, and we were weighing Nero Antique and Dalmata, and we said, okay, we want something that's just above the wash basin counter. It's a his and hers bathroom.
Right.
And so we got this black and white Nero Antique with two sinks, and it just looks smashing. So
Awesome.
yeah, very excited.
Sounds
Very
really
excited.
good. Yeah, sounds really, really interesting. So you do a lot of luxury homes, right? And even earlier you spoke about how stone sort of represents some idea of luxury. How do you think, and what are the sort of characteristics that stone has so that it can contribute to creating sort of more visual impact and adding that lux factor?
So I think for one is that a good stone or a good color, or I mean a really good quarry, a marble coming from really good quarry, has this beautiful depth, almost like jewel-like depth in it that a tile cannot, represent. It cannot mimic. So if you see, for example, a Levante, a really good Levante looks like wine, and you see that full body in it. And so I think just that in itself, if you pick the right marble, and all of them have it. I mean, I think each one. That's why it's so wonderful. Has that quality. So that's number one. Is the depth of the color. I think the second thing that we look at, of course, is definitely would be the thickness. Is that as long as you are getting 19 mm, 18 to 20 mm thick marble, you're good in terms of the number of polishing that you can. So that sort of inherent quality is important. But also I think how it book matches, how if you're using something that's not necessary, that's more abstract, how it flows, and because each slab is different as well. So you have to appreciate everything that slab is giving you, because you can't sit and manipulate it and say, oh, I don't like this, so I don't like that, right?
Yeah.
So you have to appreciate what each slab is giving you, and not live with it and say, okay, now I'm going to put this on this and this, something else on it. Accept it for what it is, because that's when you can really live with the characteristics of it.
Yeah, and also the slab's true nature sort of comes out when you let it be as it is, and yeah.
Exactly. So I think you need to appreciate it, and then of course the more aesthetic decisions come in with the color and the pattern and what's this going to do with the other parts of the house and all of that. But I would say if you're doing marble anywhere, start with that first, and that's where the starting point is.
So we also see in your work that you use a lot of textures and patterns, right? I mean, you also just spoke about it. What do you think is the role of textures, in sort of amplifying, creating the drama, or just augmenting design?
Yeah. Textures always give a certain depth. It always gives some sort of perspective, dimension to surfaces. So if you're using it obviously depends on the use case scenario, right? I mean, if you're using something that you're going to be working on, then it needs to be smooth. If it's something that's just vertically placed, then it can be textured. But texture adds also a lot of warmth. And like versus, for example, spaces that is everything flat, glossy, shiny, or polished gives some effect of like, it makes you feel a little bit like you're in a sterile space. And I think each space also demands a different sort of requirement of textures. So
Sure.
since we are designing so many homes are to be warm essentially, right? So people want to be home and feel like they're cocoon. So I love natural textures. I think for me personally, man-made materials don't always get that. It always looks a little bit plasticky or something. So what we tend to do is then try and use as many deeper textures as possible, because then it's like you could be sliding your hand on 5 different white materials, but once you that sensorial experience is really important. That's what really creates the depth of the experience of the space. So it's nice to be able to, and many times what happens is when we're doing the interiors, we usually stick to maybe 3 or 4 colors in the palette for that space. Otherwise, it becomes a bit much. And then when you're so restrictive on the palette, then you need to kind of figure out different ways and different textures of bringing in the same color.
Right.
To not keep it too plain. So that's where textures also play a heavy role, is that I could do a black veneer, a black marble, a black PU in the same room, and it would all look cohesive.
Yeah. Very, very valid point, and that's a good tip actually. So you've spoken about your own style, right? That you don't like man-made materials don't really work for you. So what are the qualities when you are picking stone or marbles for your projects? What are the qualities that you look for, and you would sort of share those tips with our audience today?
Yeah, so I think we recently went to Silvassa looking for marbles on a trip, and I think the first one would be that color. Like, what is that color that you're looking for, and are you looking for it to be flatter? Because then there's a certain type of marble where it's more cohesive, the color. There are certain marbles where the color changes. Do you want just 2 colors in the marble, or do you want a little bit more coming in? Do you want it to be something that's more abstract? Do you want it to be something that's book matched? And I think finally the slab sizes. Do you want bigger slab sizes? Do you want to put it on the wall or the floor? So it depends on that as well. The thickness that you require depends on that. And finally, just because the marble is massive doesn't mean it works, because in Bombay apartments, you have to cut the damn marble before you bring it up. So yeah. So people go around, a lot of clients are saying, I want this big slab. I said, but you can't do anything with this big slab. So please don't.
That's such good insight. That's really good insight, actually. I've spoken to so many people for this, and it's something. I think it's a basic thing that people just miss out on. They fall in love with the slab in a large sort of warehouse, not realizing how it fits into their own space or what they need. So yeah.
Exactly, and you have to remember that you're not putting marble and no furniture. It's getting covered with rugs and so don't fixate on the fact that there's a little blotch there that I don't really like, or it's also a natural material. You have to appreciate it with all its flaws. Like, it's like skin, right? You have to appreciate your skin with pimples and stuff, and you just have to live with it. So I think these are certain things that I try to explain to clients when we're buying marble. And as long as you get the basics right in terms of the thickness, the slabs, try and get images of each slab as well before you buy it. And that's something every vendor does, every quarry does, is that they give you slab images, scanned images of each slab before you buy it, so that you know what to expect. Definitely go see it personally, because in pictures and colors and samples are so small. You can't understand the full character of the marble. So yeah, those would be my sort of insights.
Yeah, thank you. It's very, very useful. So whether it's facade, flooring, furniture, we've spoken about how stone is a versatile material and it adds that element of versatility actually in any space.
Yeah.
Uh, could you share sort of some ideas, or maybe you could talk about some of the work that you have done where you have used a stone differently, in terms of whether it's a horizontal surface or a vertical surface. But the
Yeah.
same stone can be used to do something new. Could you share
Yeah, I
some
mean,
tips and ideas? Yeah.
I think in multiple. One is that lights. I think lights are something that you can use marble now to create, because a lot of the onyxes or the
Yeah.
slightly translucent marbles are, you carve it or you chisel it, you give it to a karigar, and you can make some beautiful lighting out of marble, and it has a lovely soft glow. Um, I think even a lot of products are being designed, not only lighting, but like candle stands, vases, are all being created out of marble and prototyped with marble. And it's a beautiful material to work with, because it also has so much sort of, like I said, depth to the texture, right? Um, so we've been working with a lot of, prototyping right now, because we still need to get the form right. But we've been working with a lot of projects, and on the projects we're trying to create the furniture out of marble and products out of marble. So that's been really exciting. I think otherwise what we've done so far in the past is use it as dining tabletops and remove the top layer so that the veins, you can feel the veins. And that's been really great, because it gives you a whole different experience with marble, which you otherwise think is very glossy and cold to touch. With this, sort of finishing, it becomes almost like leather. So that's been great. And now I think what the last project which we've been doing in Alibag, we've just been making all our sinks in one piece of marble. So it's gonna look great. I'm
Yeah.
excited for this to roll out.
Yeah, sounds really, really exciting. So, Shonali, this is a question that almost all the guests here, get asked. If there was one stone that you could sort of think about as one that resonates with your personality, what would that be?
Oh, wow. I think maybe volcano. It's. I feel
Interesting.
like it's a stunning marble. It's so dramatic, and it's just so like almost reminds me of this river that flows
Yeah.
sometimes. And it can be used in so many different ways. But also, I mean, forget the name, because the name changes from each place. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna rely on the name. No, I'm not a volcano. Only sometimes.
Yeah.
But I
Right.
think if I had to pick something now that I've seen that I love and I would want to use for another project, it would probably be that, or maybe even the Levante.
Okay, okay, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much. This has been really, really useful. We've got some feedback, and a lot of people have said hi to you, and just going
Hi.
through the comments, yeah, and uh, even I mean, I think some of the points that you've sort of brought out, I think people have really appreciated it. So, we the last segment of this conversation is, the series is called Let's Talk Design. So if you had to say one thing to our audience or give it as advice or a tip on let's talk design when it comes to stone, what would that be?
That's a good question. I think when it comes to stone, I think I would say that the same piece, the same that it's become stone is so versatile today, and it has so many different textures that you can add on to it. So I would definitely recommend that not to use it and just plaster it on the walls like um, unimaginatively. I would definitely say take it, kind of live with it, see maybe with a sample or a couple of samples, and let it breathe. Like let it breathe on you, like every good thing, including wine, and it will speak to you. It will speak to you in terms of what can this morph into. So, for example, like the narrow antique, for example, on the wash basin that we've used. I was looking at it and I was looking at other marbles for a really long time and I couldn't decide, which one to use. But then I let it sort of sink in and I started adding materials to it. And then I realized that, okay, this is the one that you need to go with. So don't ever choose anything that you're going to, from a stone or a marble perspective, on impact only. Because it has to kind of come in conjunction with multiple different materials. And live with it. Let the design evolve, because the first design is always probably just a great iteration, but then every design needs to go through multiple different versions of itself. So I think I would just say that don't judge a marble or a stone by its cover. That's all.
Fabulous. Great thought to end this conversation on. Thank you so much, Nadi. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you, guys.
A-Class is celebrating 50 years of being in the industry. And as a gesture of gratitude for you being a part of their journey and this series, of course, they'll be planting a tree. So,
wow, that's amazing.
They'll be sending you a certificate for the same. So thank you very much. I personally really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you. Stay safe and good luck with all your projects.
Thank you so much. And this is wonderful. And congratulations to A-Class. And yeah, I'm so glad you guys are planting a tree. That's a great thought. So good luck with everything.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Bye-bye.